Think about the last time you woke up in the middle of the night from just a truly profound dream.
Oh, yeah, the ones that feel incredibly real.
Exactly. Or, maybe you were just in the shower or driving on a quiet stretch of highway and you had this absolute moment of sheer crystalline clarity.
Right, a total light bulb moment.
Yeah, a realization so powerful you thought to yourself, there is no way I could ever forget this. I mean, this changes everything.
The human brain is just funny that way. In that exact fraction of a second, the thought feels permanently etched into your neuron.
It really
We feel
does.
like a fundamentally altered person who has just unlocked, like, a secret to the universe.
But then, life happens. You stumble into the kitchen, you make the coffee, you check your phone.
You answer that mildly annoying email from your boss.
Exactly. And by noon, you can barely remember the outline of that profound thought. By the next morning, it's just a vague, frustrating feeling that you forgot something incredibly important.
It completely evaporates.
Totally. And that human tendency to forget is the exact reason we are jumping into this deep dive today.
It's so relevant right now.
It is. If you're joining us right now, you are likely participating in the monthly church-wide fast at Baseline Family Church.
Which is such an incredible journey.
It really is. And we are journeying alongside you, pulling apart the daily devotional to really get to the heart of what you're doing this month.
Yeah, we're looking at the material for day 3 today.
Right. Today, we're diving into a stack of notes, scriptures, and insights, specifically focusing on day 3 of the fast. And day 3 has a very simple yet surprisingly demanding theme.
Just one word.
Yep. Right.
A single action-oriented word. But, in the context of a spiritual fast, it carries a massive amount of psychological and spiritual weight.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to figure out why this devotional and prominent voices like John Bevere and Jennison Franklin are insisting that a simple ink pen might be the most powerful tool in your spiritual arsenal right now.
It sounds almost too basic, right?
It does. But the core premise here is that writing isn't just about recording information
Right, it's not taking meeting minutes.
or making a grocery list. The text argues that writing is about capturing revelation so the enemy cannot steal it and time cannot fade it. So I have to ask, why is this physical act so critical during a spiritual fast?
Well, look at the data set from the text.
Mm-hmm.
The author doesn't frame writing as some kind of new life hack.
Right.
They frame it as an ancient, non-negotiable precedent. Look at Moses, the prophets, the disciples, the early church.
Yeah, there's a pattern.
A huge pattern. The common denominator in every massive spiritual shift wasn't just a miracle, it was documentation.
Wow, documentation.
Exactly. Moses didn't just have a mountaintop experience and wander back down to casually chat about it over dinner.
No, he chiseled it into stone.
He chiseled it into literal stone.
Yeah.
The prophets documented these wild, reality-bending visions, and the early church didn't just swap stories around a fire.
Right, they wrote letters.
Letters that survived empires. They took the ethereal, invisible moments and forced them into the physical, tangible world.
That is so powerful. And in the context of the Baseline Family Church fast, there's a very specific dynamic at play.
Yeah, the devotional pulls in a great quote from Jennison Franklin that really crystallizes this.
What does he say?
He notes that fasting increases spiritual clarity because when you deny the flesh, the static of the world clears and you can hear God more clearly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And this is the key writing, is what helps you keep that clarity long after the fast ends.
It reminds me of a quote the devotional includes from John Bevere. He says, "What God reveals to you in private becomes your strength in public."
Oh, that's incredibly profound.
And Rick Warren points out something similar. He says, spiritual growth is not automatic, it's intentional.
It requires action.
Right. I was thinking about it like this. It's like waking up from that profound dream we talked about. In the moment, you think you'll never forget it.
But an hour later, it's gone.
Exactly. Writing is essentially the bucket that catches the water before it slips down the drain.
That is a perfect analogy. To put another visual to it, engaging in a fast is kind of like taking a Polaroid picture in a completely dark room.
Okay, I'm tracking.
The act of fasting is the flash of the camera, right?
Yeah.
It briefly illuminates the room, allowing you to see things exactly as they are with perfect clarity.
But the flash doesn't last.
Exactly. The writing is the film developing. If you don't have the film to capture that flash of light, the room goes dark again.
And you have no proof of what you just saw.
Zero proof.
So what does this all mean for the listener today? I mean, the central question of day 3 seems to be, what is God speaking to me that I need to write down before I forget?
That's the core of it.
Yeah.
But having established that internal mechanism of capturing clarity, the devotional takes a really fascinating turn.
How so?
It doesn't let this remain a purely private, isolated habit. It explores the ripple effect.
Ah, how it affects everything else.
Right. It maps out how this internal practice bleeds outward, fundamentally altering the physical environments you inhabit. And it starts with the most intimate one, your home.
Yeah, the home is where the rubber really meets the road.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's one thing to have spiritual clarity alone in your room. It's another thing entirely when that clarity collides with, a chaotic Tuesday morning in the living room trying to get the kids out the door.
Seriously. The text notes that writing actually shapes the atmosphere of your home by shifting how you process your family's needs.
Like writing down prayers for them.
Yes, exactly. The psychology here is profound. When you just think of prayer, it often remains this vague, generalized hope, like, I hope things get better for my kids.
Right, it's just floating out there.
But when you write it down, you define the parameters. You create a physical record.
And then you can actually track it.
Exactly. Over time, you begin to actually see how those specific prayers are answered. It replaces chronic anxiety with a documented history of movement.
That is huge. And the text also zeroes in on marriage, right?
It does. It states that writing affirmations and scriptures for your spouse means your home becomes filled with truth, not tension.
I love that phrase. Truth, not tension.
A note of gratitude left on the counter. A written line of encouragement.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here, though.
Go for it.
In a world where we can just text our spouse an emoji or, verbally say thanks on the way out the door, why does a physical written note carry so much more weight? Is it the vulnerability of putting it on paper?
What's fascinating here is that the devotional deliberately elevates the written word over our modern communication defaults.
Because texts are so disposable.
Exactly. We live in an era of disposable communication. A text message gets buried under 100 other notifications, spam alerts, and emails within 20 minutes.
That's so true.
And a spoken thank you as you rush out the door is nice, but the sound waves dissipate instantly. A handwritten note is a completely different species of communication.
It takes actual physical effort.
Yes. It requires you to be fully present for the time it takes your hand to form the letters. It's tangible evidence of your attention. You can hold it. You can stick it to the fridge.
You can put it in a drawer and pull it out to read again 10 years from now.
Exactly. During a difficult season, that permanence fundamentally rebuilds trust and softens hearts.
And this transitions directly into parenting, which the text touches on with a really sharp psychological insight.
Yeah, the legacy aspect.
Right. It says, children remember the words you write. It argues that they feel the weight of your prayers when they see them physically documented.
Kids are incredibly observant hypocrite detectors,
Oh, 100%. They know when you're just going through the motions.
Right. And they also know if you are writing down a profound spiritual truth or if you're just adding paper towels and oat milk to the grocery list. They watch what you assign value to.
So when they see you physically writing things down.
When your kids see you valuing God's voice enough to stop your day and physically record it on paper, they subconsciously learn to value it too. You're modeling a hierarchy of importance.
The devotional points out that writing a blessing over your child isn't just about making them feel secure today.
No, it is literal legacy building.
It's creating a document they can pack in a box when they move to college, something that outlasts your daily presence.
That's exactly it. But, this intentionality doesn't just stay confined to the living room.
No. The real test is what happens when that private spiritual clarity expands into the hyper-urgent, high-stress environments of your public life.
The workplace.
Yeah, the workplace and the church. The devotional moves the radius outward.
Taking a spiritual practice into a secular work environment can feel jarring, honestly. But the author provides highly practical applications.
Because the modern workplace is engineered for speed and urgency, right?
And chronic stress. It is an environment designed to make you drift from your core values.
So what does the text suggest?
It suggests keeping a written reminder of integrity to keep your heart steady, or placing a specific scripture on your desk to reset your perspective.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think of that written scripture on your office desk as a spiritual reset button.
Oh, I like that.
Picture the scenario, right? You're in the middle of a brutal corporate crisis. Your inbox is exploding, your manager is breathing down your neck. You are terrified about missing a deadline.
You're drowning in digital anxiety.
Exactly. And right there next to your monitor is a physical, handwritten Post-it note with the truth you wrote down during this fast.
Amidst all that noise.
Yeah, amidst all the panic, that one physical piece of paper acts as an anchor to reality. It interrupts the cycle of anxiety and pulls you out of the storm.
It acts as a circuit breaker for your stress response.
Ah.
And the text applies this same physical interruption to your coworkers, too.
Oh, like writing them notes.
Yeah, writing a brief, physical note of appreciation to a colleague stands out so starkly against the relentless barrage of transactional emails and Slack messages.
It's so rare.
It is such a rare commodity in the corporate world that it almost inevitably opens a door for kindness, deeper trust, and influence.
And the text applies this expanding radius to your church life as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It mentions journaling sermons, recording prophetic impressions, and writing down what God did in worship.
So when you are sitting in a service at Baseline Family Church and a specific phrase from the pastor strikes your spirit, writing it down fundamentally changes its utility
It takes a fleeting moment of Sunday morning inspiration.
and turns it into a building block you can access later. It anchors you in the community.
Exactly. It allows you to pull that moment of worship off the page on a Wednesday afternoon when you are feeling completely depleted and disconnected.
Wow. We've tracked this habit from the private room to the family living room to the corporate office to the church sanctuary.
It touches everything.
It really does. But the devotional takes one final massive step backward to view the entire landscape. We move from these specific daily locations to the grand, overarching narrative of your lifelong walk with God.
This is the crescendo of the entire text. It explains that the ultimate purpose of writing is to turn your daily, seemingly disconnected reflections into what it calls spiritual markers.
I want to camp out on that phrase for a second, spiritual markers. The text claims that writing reveals patterns of grace, protection, and answered prayer.
It does.
So how does the simple act of writing actually reveal patterns that we would otherwise be completely blind to?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the psychology of how human beings process time, we live life linearly.
Right, one day at a time.
1 second at a time, which makes us incredibly nearsighted. We get so consumed by the immediate crisis staring us in the face on Tuesday that we completely forget the miraculous, impossible breakthrough we experienced just last Thursday.
We lack peripheral vision for our own lives.
That's beautifully put. We only see the single puzzle piece we're currently holding, not the picture on the box.
So the journaling is like looking at the box.
Exactly. When you write your prayers and revelations down consistently, you are essentially drawing a topographical map of your spiritual journey.
I love that.
When you look back through a journal from 3 years ago, you see all the things you were terrified of. You see the financial crisis, the health scare, the relationship you begged God to fix.
And standing in the present moment, reading those terrified words, you can clearly see how he navigated you through every single one of them.
It reveals that what felt like random, terrifying chaos in the moment was actually a beautifully orchestrated pattern of grace,
It proves that God was actively working in your everyday story.
turning what felt like faint whispers in the dark into undeniable, documented testimonies.
It's like gathering hard evidence of God's goodness in your own life to use against your own doubts.
That is exactly what it is, and the devotional anchors this practice in the deepest theology we have.
The cross and the resurrection.
Yes, it says the cross teaches us that every detail matters. God didn't skip any steps. He fulfilled every ancient prophecy to the letter.
And the resurrection teaches us that God fulfills what he has spoken.
That is the ultimate theological anchor for day 3. Why do we go through the effort to write down what God speaks? Because he has a flawless historical track record of fulfilling his word.
Writing reminds you that his faithfulness didn't end 2,000 years ago at the empty tomb.
No, it continues right now, today, in the middle of your messy, everyday story.
So good. So as we bring this deep dive in for a landing, let's get incredibly practical for the listener.
Yeah, let's bring it home.
Today is day 3 of the Baseline Family Church Fast. You are denying yourself. You are seeking clarity. What is the specific call to action from the text today?
The devotional provides a very clear inventory of what you should be putting on paper today.
Walk us through it.
It says, write your prayers, write your gratitude, write your questions, write your burdens, write what he whispers, write your commitments, and write what you see changing in your heart.
I want to highlight a couple of those because it's not just a list of what the why is so important. Writing your gratitude, for instance, forces your brain to scan your environment for the good, literally rewiring your perspective. But writing your questions, That is powerful.
It really is. Writing your questions forces you to articulate exactly what you don't understand.
It takes that vague, overwhelming cloud of anxiety and distills it into a defined sentence on a piece of paper.
You are giving God a specific target to speak to, rather than just drowning in confusion.
The devotional grounds this entire instruction in the scripture for today, which is Habakkuk 2.2. Write down the revelation and make it plain.
Make it plain. I love that. Don't overcomplicate it. You don't need to write poetic prose.
Just get it on the paper.
Just get the raw truth out of your head and onto the page.
The text also offers a closing prayer that perfectly captures the posture we need for this.
What does it ask for?
It asks for the ability to slow down, to fight that modern urge to rush, so we can actually hear what God is placing on our hearts.
That's the friction we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. It asks for the clarity to record his words, and importantly, the courage to write out our real prayers.
Because sometimes seeing your actual fears and raw prayers on paper is deeply vulnerable and scary.
It makes them real.
It does. The prayer asks for the faith to document his faithfulness, so that this physical act of writing will shape your home, guide your work, and deepen your walk.
And the final line of that prayer is incredible. Seal every truth you reveal so it becomes a lasting testimony.
That drives home the most powerful takeaway from today's reading.
What you write today may become the exact testimony you need tomorrow.
Yes. When you hit a wall 6 months from now and you feel completely abandoned and out of options, the words you write today during this specific fast might be the exact weapon you need to break through that wall.
You are literally arming your future self with the truth God is handing you today.
Arming your future self. That is the mission of day 3.
So, as we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you grab your pen and go about your day. We talked at the beginning about how easily we forget the profound moments, how the memories just evaporate if we don't capture them.
They just drift away.
Think about this. If someone were to find your notebook 50 years from now, long after you are gone, wait, let me rephrase that. Long after you're gone, what story of God's faithfulness would those written whispers tell them about the battles you fought and won today? Grab a pen, make it plain. We'll see you tomorrow.